thing last night, and here for a full debriefing on the election is President and founder of the Agenda Project, Erica Payne, the host of the Armstrong Williams radio show, Armstrong Williams, and from CBS Sunday Morning, Nancy Giles. Welcome to the panel. Armstrong, we're a little too gleeful for you today?
I'm gleeful.
You are gleeful? You are. You're one of the only Republicans who is gleeful today.
We're a country about the majority. When the majority says this is what we want, we should embrace it and move forward.
Really? Tell that to Mitch McConnell.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
I know. He came out like fighting. You know, he was so nasty.
He's in denial. It takes time. He'll get over it.
Really? 4 years he hasn't reneged on that obnoxious comment that our goal is to get him out of office.
Well, the American people proved them wrong. I mean,
that's right.
We just have to move on.
Got to move on. Tell me, what do you think was the most important key to the win? Erica?
It's probably the ridiculous stance that Republicans have on women.
You think
just
so?
Across the board.
And
Lily Ledbetter, don't need to make enough, as much money as everybody else, don't seem to be able to control our own bodies and have an ability to make those decisions. And then, the rape after rape after rape comment. I mean, I think the entire Republican first day of a debriefing should be, don't ever say rape on the campaign trail.
Right. Well, I mean, the single women voted for Obama more than married women, which is interesting.
Oh, that is
interesting.
interesting.
Women by 18 points. That's a huge win.
But I think that it's because a single woman needs a safety net maybe more, or is more concerned about,
part of your life maybe,
Yeah.
maybe, contraception and stuff like that. I would go even further than don't ever say rape. I would say don't ever say anything about women's bodies.
Period.
You don't have any of the parts, just don't do it.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I thought was a real key thing was the efforts to suppress the vote that got a lot of attention and a lot of people taking videos and pictures and whatnot. I think it made people aware and angry that their votes were maybe going to be left out, and really encouraged people to come and line up and stuff. I felt really vindicated to see all those lines. I mean, it's bad. You shouldn't have to wait that long, but I think that was a big thing.
So we think at this point that women voted in larger numbers because of the Republican position against women.
Well, I mean, since
do I get to get my
yes, you do in a second.
Oh, okay, all right.
But we're
I just want to make sure.
We're here with three women.
I just want to make sure.
How much are you really going to be?
I want to hear it in a second, but
yes,
is that what you were saying?
Look, but here's the thing. Here's the thing that I would like to see us build on in the future. Women are the majority of the population. Since 1964, we've been the majority of voters. Last session, there were 10 million more women who voted than men.
Right.
This time, you're going to see even more, and they voted predominantly for Democrats. So I think what women need to do, and maybe us girls can powwow after the show, is we need to now go to the Democratic Party and say, okay, every leadership position, every management position, every new hire, 50% women, equal pay across the board, health care, flex work hours, etc.
And
force,
women to run
in the
for
same way
office,
the conservative movement took over the Republican Party and forced a set of behaviors into the Republican Party, I'd like to see the girls go up to the Democrats and say, you didn't have a snowball's chance in heck till we showed up here, and we're going to see some changes here.
What do you say, Armstrong? Now's your chance to jump in
thank you. Finally. You know what? Listen, I think sometimes we get so caught up in our own individual issues. And I don't think it's about whether it's the women issues or the gay issues or the minority issues. I think the fact is that Romney knows miscalculated in how they spent their resources. I mean, obviously they calculated that they could win in Pennsylvania, and they spent resources there. If they had spent a little more time, if he did not run that commercial in the last 2 weeks where he offended the auto industry and workers in the state, he would have had a chance to win Ohio, even with Virginia. And the other thing is that the Republican Party must understand people for some reason just don't like them. And when people don't like you, they don't trust you because they don't feel you care about them. They have a very difficult time messaging.
But it's because they don't. I mean, this is the thing. We heard time and time again in this campaign.
Let me finish. Can I finish? Thank you. Can I finish?
And I just reject the fact that it's a gap.
Listen, I don't think at a certain level there's any difference between Republicans and Democrats. I think we all get hosed by these elected officials in terms of what they say. Look, then why do we keep talking about these same issues every 4 years? Why do we keep talking about the same issues every 4 years?
I'm jumping in. There is a huge difference.
Okay.
And I'll start with Romney's campaign and the word that people seem to be afraid to use. He lied constantly. Lied about Chrysler shipping jobs to China. Lied and changed his mind about all of his positions on Medicare, on abortion. Lied. And you'll find a lot more Republicans lying.
Let me say this to you.
Let me
just say this to you.
Lying.
Look, I'm not going to challenge you on that. Let me just say, the first casualty in politics and elections is the truth. They all mislead us.
No,
Obama made these promises 4 years ago, and I'm sure he meant well, but very few of them he honored.
They
all do it.
I just want to make this point. Every time it's pointed out about the Republicans lying or the Republicans doing anything, there's this whole everybody does it.
Yeah,
Both sides do it, and it's not true. It's a false equivalency.
We sit here and argue among ourselves, and we're not the issue. It's these Republicans who are in the bed with these special interest groups and these lobbyists who pass this legislation not in our best interest, and we think it's between Democrats and Republicans. I would say maybe we need a third party, but they don't want that. Are our voices being represented? There is something that's terribly wrong in this country.
That's fine, but a very good first step would be for reasonable people to leave the party of the crazy town. I mean, seriously.
Like you.
Todd Aiken.
Don't you
like
realize
for
how
example,
stupid they are?
Todd
that you're
Aiken,
part-
legitimate, you know, and one of the crazy things that, you know, all the little machinations around this morning, you know, the article that is now GOP has to do soul searching. In order to do soul searching, one must first have a soul.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. I grew up in the South. I know a lot of Republican people, and they are wonderful people. Regular Republicans are wonderful people.
Yeah.
Okay? The people who run their party, the Koch brothers, Richard Mellon
The Tea Party.
you know, et cetera, their funders are soulless,
Sheldon Adelson.
self-centered people
Greedy.
who are not going to do any soul searching. They're going to find the next group of people that they can pay off
We
to do
sit
what they
here
want.
and we
The
have
end.
this joy. In the 90s, when Gingrich won the Congress, Republicans were jubilant. Then they lost it. We go through this. So you guys are happy for now. But I'm telling you, the American public is fickle. The public is fickle.
No. Your party's in big trouble now because your
You shouldn't
party,
read too much into it.
your
how can you say that?
candidate has to go past the primaries as a conservative and then run as a moderate.
He
And
is a
that
moderate. That's what he
conundrum
is.
That cannot
He's
be
just as moderate
overcome.
as President Obama, but he is.
Who, Mitt Romney?
Yes,
No, he's not.
he is.
Wait, based on what? No, he's not.
Maybe he is. We don't know.
His record that he was so happy and proud of that he didn't even.
You guys have to talk one at a time, or I'm going to get upset.
Okay.
Mitt Romney is the anti-man. There is a blank
Let me just
slate.
get in.
Help me.
Okay.
Help me.
You're saying he's proud of a
He's a
record
liberal.
that he didn't.
Yes.
You're totally wrong. He said
I can be wrong,
He would,
but so can you,
He would answer.
if you
he
can
would
admit that.
eliminate
Okay.
Roe v. Wade.
She isn't.
He didn't have a program that he even was proud of running
Okay,
on.
here's the thing. I have to take a break. But the truth is, we don't know what he is because he flip-flops so much. We'll be back in a second. And still to come on Monday, I bet Vegas, still to come, sorry, on Monday, I bet Vegas odds maker Wayne Allen Root $1,000 that Obama would win. That's right. Now it's time to collect. Last night, Bill O'Reilly went on Fox News with his assessment of what went wrong for Romney. Watch.
It's a changing country. The demographics are changing. It's not a traditional America anymore. And there are 50% of the voting public who want stuff. They want things. The white establishment is now the minority.
Okay, I'm back with my lovely panel and in a much calmer state now, I say. So, Bill O'Reilly, racist or not?
I think that that's very racist, and let me explain some of the reasons why. Reason number one, that the whole thing about traditional America, you know, the real traditional America really was Native Americans. Let's just, you know, get that
That's
going,
true.
okay? And it's been interesting to hear some of the conservative pundits, like, delicately try to dance around this thing of the country is no longer a white country, it's darker, and all the dark people want stuff. It goes right in line with that Mitt Romney tape about the 47%,
Right.
which is garbage.
Maybe the stuff they want, Armstrong, is like an education
Or
for their
justice.
children, medical services, a house to live in. You know, they want what everybody else wants.
Listen, I think that there are many conservatives and many Republicans in elected positions that really live in a bubble. And they're so isolated from the real world that they can't even relate to the plight of many people in this
Are
country.
you thinking of
I
Riley?
mean, I did not like Romney when he introduced the word white because it's a code word. And people are not stupid. I mean, they understand what he's conveying here. But the bottom line, America has changed. America is not the country that we once were.
Right.
And we have to adjust to that change. People want different things. It's not always about those traditional values which we think we live by. Sometimes we say we live by and we do something entirely different in our personal lives. And people see that hypocrisy. People care about jobs. They care about the future of their children. They care about Social Security. Those are real issues. Those are the issues
But
that
isn't the implication that non-whites want a free ride?
Listen,
Isn't that
there
the
are more
implication?
white people on welfare
That's right.
and all these other programs and food stamps than
Well,
anybody else in the
we
country.
know that, but that's not the implication of what he said.
That makes his argument irrelevant. But you have to take it into context what he's saying. What he's saying does not reflect the true facts
I know,
of
but
this
isn't it
country.
dangerous what he's saying?
But
So a couple things.
Yeah.
One, if you want to know how Republicans feel about poor people, go on the Heritage Foundation's website and go to their poverty thing, and they have a description about how most poor people in America have 2 TVs and a car and on and on and on. I mean, they are obviously unsympathetic to people who are in situations other than themselves. But what I find fascinating about that quote from Bill O'Reilly that, 50% of Americans want things, go to the Forbes 400 list and see how many people of these richest Americans, how many would have made the amount of money they have without government subsidies going into their businesses.
Well, yeah, there's
Every
that.
single one of them, oil and gas, Wall Street, et cetera. So the people who want something are the people who put up $1 billion to try to buy this campaign from Mitt Romney, and his son is one of them. With his Solomir investment management company that's investing in all government businesses, that he's getting all of Mitt's investors from his campaign to invest in his private equity fund, and they're buying they're doing the little scooter company that has 80% Medicare fraud. This was a direct line.
What do you make of the fact that the white voter voted for Romney in droves?
listen, let me answer. Listen, I voted for Romney.
I know you did.
I voted for Romney because I felt that Romney had the best plan, lower taxes, less regulation, sympathetic to small business owners, which create the jobs in this economy. You can't assume just because somebody votes for Romney, it's because of their race. It may be there's just a psychological difference from the vision of the president, and they were more in tune with what Romney was advocating. I'm not going to turn that into a race issue here.
Well,
I'm just not.
I know from, unscientific research that there were quite a few people who voted for Romney because they're scared. A few white people that are scared. They're scared of a black president, and they're scared of brown-skinned people, and they're scared of the complexion of this country. It's slipping away from them. There were fear-based voters like that.
I'll tell you what was really interesting, y'all.
I have to go.
Okay.
I have to take a break. We're going to come back with some more right after this. Talented panel. Now, Chris Christie's name was tossed around quite a bit last night. Republicans are not happy with him. Who knows? Who cares? Although President Obama referenced their new working friendship in his acceptance speech. Watch.
I've seen it on the shores of New Jersey and New York, where leaders from every party and level of government have swept aside their differences to help a community rebuild from the wreckage of a terrible storm.
Armstrong, how much does the Republican Party hate Chris Christie right now?
Chris Christie is a leader. And when you're a leader, you cannot worry about what people say about you, especially when it's petty. When people's lives are threatened and you've got to get funds for your people who are suffering, the president is the president of the United States. It's a time to put aside everything and do what is in the best interest of the people. For somebody to criticize that, it's crazy.
Well, we understand that, and we agree with that, but it's a possibility that friendship really tipped the election.
If people benefited. If it tipped the election, so let it be.
Like in New Jersey, it might have
I respect Chris Christie for what he did because he showed leadership, and that's what's like it in this country.
Well, he did his job. I mean, he did his job, and the president did his job, and they helped people. And what was weird was anybody not liking him, not liking Chris Christie for helping people and trying to work a compromise out. What? That's what we all should be doing, is compromising.
Well, I think this sort of goes with the whole issue of, does the GOP need to soul search, and they can only do so if they have a soul? I mean, any person with a soul recognizes that when something like what happened happens, you put it aside and you move forward and make things better for people. But you will see, I mean, I heard a lot of bipartisanship nonsense thrown around today. Let's be real clear. Sheldon Adelson, the Koch brothers, et cetera, are not going to stand for bipartisanship and compromise from the Republican people that they bought and sold, and will continue to buy and sell until somebody says enough.
I have a problem with you turning these guys into a boogeyman. Because you know
Which
what?
men are a boogeyman?
When you talk about Couch and Shelter, Adelson.
Do you know?
I mean,
do you
look,
know what they have built
I know more
over
about
time?
them than you do, actually.
I guarantee you
Yes,
don't.
I do. You may be surprised, but I'm not going to debate that. But I'm saying this to you. Sometimes people contribute and put their money where their mouth is because they actually care. They
Right,
may have
and
a different
sometimes
perspective from you,
right,
and a different vision of
sometimes they do it
America,
because
but they
they're
have a
evil,
right to
dreadful
spend their money
people.
any way they like.
Yes, they
the way
are.
you spend your money.
Right,
Why, do you agree with
because
the
when they
Citizens
bought
Union?
the Supreme
Citizens
Court,
United?
when they bought
agree
the
with that?
Supreme
That
Court,
is
the
the most
Supreme Court
horrible
said that
decision
they
I've
could
ever
spend it
heard
any
of.
way they want.
Listen,
Exactly.
It's awful.
Come on.
I respect the ruling of the court, as many people do. and we
Why?
should.
It
Why?
it
So you really
overturned
think we're
100
crazy?
years of precedents. Why do you trust that? And you know you've got a Supreme Court justice who forgot his wife made $600,000
Which justice
from
was
an
that?
organization.
That is not true. I
Largely
can tell you that is
financed
not
by
true.
exactly
And
the same
it's
group
not
of
even
people
true.
that I'm talking about. Of
You know,
course
in
it's
fact,
true.
let me
She
tell
had a
you,
$600,000
you don't know what you're talking
salary.
about. The figure
I know exactly
was
what I'm talking.
$122,000.
It was not. It was $600,000. He forgot to make that much. I would love to be somebody who forgot about $600,000.
Again, you're wrong.
Then maybe I would vote for myself to have a tax cut.
You're wrong and have no idea what you're talking about.
All I wanted to say was that the interesting thing about bipartisan and working together and extremists is that there were extremists on the left that I was pretty angry with during the president's first term who trashed him and who were angry with him and who felt like he bailed and he caved on this and that and the other. Again, and he was being trashed by his own party for that same attempt at compromise. So we're not blameless at that kind of attitude either.
Yeah, so
I would just say, as somebody who was deeply vocally critical of the president when he caved on the Bush tax cut.
But he never caved.
Yes, he did cave. And what you saw when the rest of history unfolded is that the decision he made during the lame duck session 2 years ago set in motion a set of events, hitting the debt ceiling, having that crisis, having our credit rating lowered in the way that it did, that was just a fundamentally bad decision.
You know,
and so he deserved to be criticized in that moment because there were people who saw down the road in a way that
perfect. You know, they wanted a lot out of this guy.
And a lot
I thought
of people
he accomplished quite a bit.
I do too. And a lot of people would have lost
You would agree with that, wouldn't you,
I'm
Armstrong?
encouraged by seeing this. I think this is progress.
Wouldn't you agree with me that President Obama accomplished a lot in his first term? He saved the auto industry. He came up with Obamacare, which is now pretty safe, at least for the next 4 years.
You and I agree on that point. And the bottom line, in order for him to reach that, even with the Bush tax cuts, in order to make progress, sometimes you got to make compromise, even on things that you believe in.
Go talk to the people in your party about that. He's not the one who needs to hear that message, Sugar.
Sugar.
What's it?
Sugar and spice everything nice.
Sugar?
Sugar, baby. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of.
It slips out.
It sounded a little condescending.
Sugar?
Yeah.
I see
But I'm not
Christie.
offended.
This is a Christie Obama
little
vote.
condescending there.
Why don't you two hug?
Oh, sure.
Come on.
Sure,
Oh, that's so
sure.
cute. Oh, my God. It's like the mafia kiss, but still. Now, you want to
Take the gun, leave the right. Take the canola, leave the gun, take the cannoli, or whatever.
yeah, leave the gun, take the canola. So you were going to talk more. We'll have another minute to talk. What, you wanted to bring something up about race
Well, I just
before.
wanted to
just wrap it
so
up
we
now.
could just very quickly, my office, we looked at the CNN coverage of both conventions, and we looked at how many cutaway shots there were of the crowd and what percentage shots of those were people other than white people.
Yeah.
And the Republican, I think we had 66 cutaways. 3 of them were non-white people.
3 people, yeah.
Three people of all of those cutaways
from the convention?
From the conventions,
Okay.
and on the Democratic side, it was, I mean, whatever it was, 50%, 60% were non-white, and we did the same thing last night when we were out watching the speeches and everything. You just had to scour that Republican crowd to
Well,
find
that
anybody
Republican
who was not
crowd
white.
needed mood elevators. Did
Oh
you
my
see how
God.
depressed they
Yeah.
were? They were so
It gave me
depressed.
a rush of joy.
It was so
That depression.
quiet.
When I watched the 2 conventions, it was like the Democrats looked like America,
Right.
and
Yeah.
the audience of the Republican convention looked like the Hamptons.
You know, I was at
Yes.
both. And
Yes, it did.
That's what it looked like.
The Republican convention does not reflect the apparatus of having blacks in the hierarchy, and that's part of their problem. They really need to copy some pages from the Democratic Party.
I think
They
you
want
should
to
switch
progress.
parties, Armstrong. I see you coming over to our side, baby.
I believe in balance.
After that last kiss and that last hug, oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you guys for doing this.